Joe Biden joins MAGA. The media and defense contractors collude on the Ukrainian war, and my thoughts on the current U.S. surveillance state. Stay tuned, everybody. Hey, for the best meat you have ever eaten, check out samsbutchershop.com. Go and shop around. When you go to checkout, enter the promo code Triple T for a 5% discount. Check it out. And a good Friday to you, everybody. Trailer Trash Tim here. How's your mama and them? I'm so glad you joined me today. Welcome to the channel, and I am glad that you are here. I got some hot stories for you today, but I've got some programming notes for you here that you might want to take note of. Tomorrow is going to be what I hope to be a regular feature on Saturdays. We had our first last Saturday, and we've got another one scheduled for tomorrow. So you want to make sure that you tune in, because tomorrow is going to be the Trailer Trash Tim Playhouse. It's going to be a little bit different video, and if you want to get an idea of what I'm talking about, if you look under the live tab, you'll see a video. No, I'm sorry, it's not under the live tab. If you look on last Saturday's video, you'll see a video that is entitled "'Twas the Night Before Shutdown." And that was the first production from Triple T Playhouse. And if you haven't caught that video, it's different from any other. So I encourage you to go back and check that out. I had fun doing that. And then tomorrow we have another one coming out, the Triple T Playhouse, and you'll see what we have in store for you. Then on Sunday, mark your calendars at 3 p.m., the Lord willing and the creek don't rise. We're going to do a live stream, live at 3 p.m. That is 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's Alabama time for me and much of the U.S. anyway. I can't accommodate everybody. I know some of you are on the other side of the world, and it might be 3 a.m. where you are, and I apologize for that, but all I can do is all I can do, right? So if you're awake, if you're out and about, tune in Sunday at 3 p.m., and we'll just visit together live style, and I look forward to it. I hope that you make it for that. All right. How about this? Joe Biden, I want to welcome you, sir, to the MAGA movement. Have you heard the big news? That's right. Joe Biden has apparently gone full MAGA. I believe I'm looking for pictures of him now wearing a red MAGA hat. You know, the Make America Great Again hat, the Trump hat. Apparently, Biden has joined MAGA. This has been a stunning reversal, and I'm just so happy that things have finally changed in America, and Joe Biden has joined MAGA. Well, what are you talking about, Triple T? Well, all you got to do is read the news, right? According to an article that I found yesterday from the Associated Press, this just happened. It either happened Wednesday or yesterday, Thursday. But this is from the Associated Press. Listen at this paragraph. The Biden administration announced they waived, brace yourself, folks, announced they waived 26 laws in South Texas to allow border wall construction on Wednesday, marking the administration's first use of sweeping executive power to pave the way for building more border barriers, a tactic used often during the Trump presidency. I'm going to give you a minute to let you assimilate. Let that sink in, what I just read to you. Did you hear that? Did you assimilate that? Did you comprehend the words of that paragraph? Joe Biden. That's right. I didn't say Trump. I said Biden. Joe Biden is signing off on border wall construction being resumed in South Texas. Welcome to the fold, Joe Biden. Welcome to MAGA, Joe Biden. I'm so proud of you. I'd like to pat you on the head right now. Isn't this amazing? Are you wondering why he's doing that? We'll get to that in just a minute. But before we do, let me remind you, if I may, of what Joe Biden said in an interview with NPR. He gave an interview to NPR in August of 2020. This was before the election debacle. but this was August the 5th on 2020, and Biden was asked about the border wall. Are you going to keep building the wall like President Trump is doing? What's your policy going to be? What are you going to do about this? And this is what he said. This is a direct quote from then candidate Biden. There will not be another foot of wall constructed in my administration. Not one. Got that? Now what is he doing? He's building a border wall. Well, good for you, Joe. You're a liar and you're a hypocrite. Maybe you've seen the light finally. Now, what is the meaning of this? First of all, let me be clear. I don't care who you are. I don't care what party you're in. I don't care about your background, your past. All I want you to do as president or any politician or any person is just do the right thing. That's not too much to ask. Just do the right thing. I won't hold it against you if you'll just do the right thing. I'll congratulate you if you'll simply do the right thing. And of course, constructing a wall for the security and safety of the American people is the right thing. For whatever reason Joe has seen the light, God bless him. Hey man, I'm proud of you, Joe. Good boy. Very good. Now, why is he doing this? Well, I don't pretend to know all the whys. But of course, there is a why, and I'm just going to tell you what I suspect. I could be right, I could be wrong, but I kind of think I'm on the right track with this. I believe the reason Biden has caved is, I speculate, I assume, so take it for whatever it's worth, Joe Biden's poll numbers are so far in the tank. They are so low. And his negatives are so high, I suspect that some of the people around him, his advisors, the people that are actually telling him what's going on and what he needs to do, are probably telling him, you know what, we kind of need a win here. We kind of need to elevate you and you competitive in the polls again. There's so much negativity toward him right now, and there's so much damning information coming out about Biden. I shared some of it with you yesterday with regards to the bribes and the kickbacks vis-a-vis Hunter and the Ukraine and Burisma scandals. I suspect this is a ploy to raise his poll numbers. The reason I say this is because obviously we know this ain't something Joe Biden wants to do. He decided to do this. He was drugged to this decision, kicking and screaming. I promise you, he doesn't want to do this. Now, let me just quickly add, Joe Biden, I would contend, is not running the country. This man, I watched him today, he is utterly clueless. This man does not know what's going on. He is mentally incapacitated. He has handlers. He has advisors all around him, and these people have their pulse on the polls. That's what's more important. Doing what's right is not what is most important. Getting your man higher in the polls, that's what's most important. And I suspect that his handlers, perhaps they got a phone call from who's really in charge. Oh, Obama! Who's really in charge? Oh, Obama! We don't really know who that might be. Oh, Obama! But anyway, I suspect that this is a ploy to raise him in the polls because we know he doesn't really want to do this. As he has stated clearly in the past, specifically in 2020, August 5th of 2020, to NPR. Whatever the case, all I can say is, let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. I'll say it loud and large, buddy. Thank you so much for getting the wall built. Now, there's going to be a catch somewhere. We haven't heard the last of this. I will promise you, we have not heard the last of this. But hey, at this point, we're so desperate for the right things to be done in so many areas. I guess beggars can't be choosers. We'll just have to take what we can get, right? So anyway, that's what's going on, and we shall keep our eye on that and see what happens. All right, let's move on. This is an unbelievable article. If you will bear with me, I'm going to have to read some of it, but I've got to cover this for you all. This is, I don't know who Natalie Winters is. I quoted from her yesterday. She was the one who did some of the expose on with regard to Biden being fingered as the recipient of Ukrainian funds. She finally outed him because they found documents. The House and Ways Committee found these documents because they're doing the investigations. Because, as we all know, the FBI will not. Neither will the CIA. The deep state won't do it. They cover their own. They care for their own. But the House Ways and Means Committee has uncovered these documents with so much redacted information, but Natalie Winters was able to do some digging and found out indeed it was, as we suspected, the big guy. He is suspect number one or what have you. But anyway, Natalie is on a warpath, and she is doing some excellent reporting wherever she is. I think she's in Washington. But this article appeared on warroom.org, and it is entitled Exclusive: Commentators Pushing for Endless Ukraine Aid, Opposing Dangerous Peace Talks. Can't have peace talks, folks. Come on, let's not get silly here now. Opposing dangerous peace talks, hid financial ties to defense companies and the Ukrainian government. What say you, Stephanie? I'm sorry, Natalie? I keep calling her Stephanie. Natalie. She's in this article, she exposes the ties between defense companies, American defense companies, and the Ukrainian government. Have you ever heard of such a thing? She writes, advisors to U.S.-Ukraine Business Council have coordinated influential op-eds in mainstream media news outlets calling for more assistance to Ukraine. You know, we can't have enough of that, right? We need to send them some more money. It's not enough. Even slamming the prospect of negotiations as damaging and counterproductive, while repeatedly failing to disclose their financial interests to lobbying groups, members, defense industry grants, and the Ukrainian government. What a spiderweb we have here. What a cesspool we have here. The U.S.-Ukraine Business Council, I didn't know there was such a thing, the U.S.UBC, which describes itself as a, quote, strong international voice for business in Ukraine, now promoting U.S.-Ukraine business relations, unquote, represents over 200 companies, including leading defense firms such as Boeing, Raytheon, and Lockheed Martin. Many of these members, therefore, are direct beneficiaries of the multi-billion-dollar aid packages authorized by the White House for Ukraine. Ain't that interesting? Despite this apparent conflict of interest, you think? Several senior advisors to the US-UBC have written op-eds in mainstream news outlets publicly calling for a continuation of the Russia-Ukraine war, even calling negotiations damaging and counterproductive. The authors have repeatedly failed to include their affiliation with the US-UBC in the articles or their biographies. Do you get what's going on here? Members of the mainstream media are in collusion with the US-UBC, the U.S.-Ukraine Business Council. In other words, media outlets are doing the bidding for the US-UBC. They're toting the water for them. They're saying, we can't have negotiations. Who ever heard of such silliness? Why, it would be an outrage. What we need is war. We need to go to war. We need even more money for this war. We can't have negotiations. Who ever thought of such a thing? Can you imagine actually sitting down at a table and hammering out a negotiation to bring a war to the end? Well, we can't have that. That's absurd. If we did that, these companies might not be making all the billions and billions and billions of dollars that they make off of war. We can't have that, can we? This article continues. This is so incestuous. Among the senior advisors to the U.S.-Ukrainian Business Council are Managing Director for Global Policy at the George W. Bush Institute, David Kramer, former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, William Taylor, and Atlantic Council Director John Herbst. Together, the trio authored an op-ed for The Atlantic in March entitled "The Only Realistic Answer to Putin." They quote, "In Ukraine, the Ukrainians are the ones doing the fighting, and tragically the dying. The United States has no soldiers on the ground," they lament. "Oh my God, we have no soldiers on the ground. But we have every interest in providing the military support Ukraine needs to win this war and drive every Russian occupying and invading force of Ukraine territory. No one wants the war to end sooner than the Ukrainians." Yeah, the real Ukrainians, not the Zelensky regime. But they also believe, and with good reason, that they can win if they get the assistance they need soon. Now is not the time to snatch Russian defeat from Ukraine's jaws of victory. Please. Ukrainian victory? Give me a break. There is no Ukrainian victory. Russia is on the path to victory, and nobody's going to deter them, folks. Certainly not Ukraine. Certainly not NATO. It's not going to happen. Russia is going to prevail in this war. Moreover, NATO knows it. Okay? That's the dirty little secret. They know what's going to happen. Taylor and Kramer also pushed for more aid to Ukraine in the Washington Post in their op-ed. The West should do whatever it takes to help Ukrainians. Kramer peddled a similar narrative in a 2020 op-ed, "Don't Go Wobbly on Ukraine," where he posted that, quote, "Ukrainian victory is in America's national interest. Calls for negotiations now are damaging and counterproductive." Mr. Kramer, may I ask you a question? Just little old me over here, just this little old country common boy. Can I ask you a question? You say the Ukrainian victory is in America's national interest. Could you explain that? Could you expound on that? Could you please explain to me, how is it in our national interest? How is it in our national... Please explain to me. I don't understand. I need to be educated. How is it in America's national interest for Ukraine, this cesspool of the world? How is it in our interest for Ukraine to succeed? I don't understand. Can you help me out with that? Hello, Mr. Kramer? How would it change if Russia, or when Russia prevails for the United States? How does that affect us negatively? Let me tell you what he's really saying here, okay? What he said was Ukraine victory is in America's national interest. No, Ukraine victory is in the deep state's national interest. Ukrainian victory is in Joe Biden's national interest. Ukrainian victory is in Hunter Biden's national interest, and all of these other world leaders like Trudeau and Merkel and Macron, who are undoubtedly reaping benefits from all the collusion they're involved in, and the bribery and the extortion and the scandals in Kiev, all orchestrated by their little puppet, Che Guevara, or Zelensky, if you will, we can't send him enough money, apparently, so he can go out and buy a suit, for crap's sakes. Pardon me. This just goes on and on. I won't bore you, but it's just more of the same. He published another op-ed, "There is no substitute for Ukrainian victory." What you've got here is just the American government, not the American people. Folks, when I am critical, when I say America, I am talking about the government. I love my country. I love America. I am red, white, and blue through and through. I am a patriotic American, a man who loves his country. I despise what is happening in our government. I despise what the deep state has done to the American people, to our liberties, to our freedoms. I despise our warmongering. I despise our global reach. I despise the concept of America policing the world, and in the process bankrupting the very people who have to pay for all this, for heaven's sakes. That's what I despise, and it ain't unpatriotic for me to say that. In fact, it is the essence of patriotism, and I'm going to tell you something, the Founding Fathers would agree with me. Hello, Patrick Henry. Hello, Thomas Jefferson. Hello, our Founding Father, George Washington. They would all be saying what I'm saying right now. All right, let me move on. Check that article out. It's on warroom.org. But let me move on to something else. I want to deal for a moment with one of the greatest problems we are facing in America right now, and that is our current surveillance state. This article appeared in CNS News. The title of it is FBI Scandals Mount Conducted Warrantless Searches on more than 250,000 U.S. citizens in a 12-month period. Got it? The FBI conducted warrantless searches on 250,000 U.S. citizens in a 12-month period. The FBI, this is by Craig Bannister, the FBI improperly performed warrantless searches on more than 250,000 U.S. citizens in a single year, 127-page court filing unsealed Friday by the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, FISA, in the latest instance of FBI abuse of its powers to make the news. The FBI conducted more than 278,000 illegitimate and illegal queries on citizens, including some George Floyd protesters and more than 19,000 donors to a congressional campaign in the 12 months ending in November 2021. The FBI conducted search queries on U.S. citizens without any justification or evidence of wrongdoing, the court filing reveals. In other words, you're guilty in America now until you're proven innocent. It's the opposite, okay? Not innocent until proven guilty. You're guilty if we say you're guilty, by George. The release of the findings of the Freedom of Information Act request comes in the wake of Special Counsel John Durham's report documenting numerous instances of serious misconduct by the FBI conducting surveillance of members of former President Trump's 2020 campaign. Well, hello. We already knew that. The FBI is at it again, constitutional scholar Mark Levine tweeted Saturday, drawing attention to yet another apparent instance of FBI abuse of power in which agents showed up at the door of a pro-life activist mother. Levine linked to a Fox News article with a video showing FBI agents sought to speak with Elise Ketch. The pro-life daughter refused to specify why and then left and were never heard from again after being told to contact her lawyer. Quote, "I can only take this as an intimidation tactic at this point," unquote, Ketch told Fox News. "They're going after everybody," she continued. Ketch said, a pro-life progressive. "The FBI is being weaponized against all of us." Yes, they are. News of the incident resurfaced as House Republicans continued their probe into the weaponization of government in furtherance of the Biden administration's political goals. The long and short of it is this, as I have been saying, we live in a surveillance state. The Justice Department has been weaponized not only against Donald Trump, as I have stated, but against law-abiding, freedom and liberty-loving American citizens like me and like many of you. We are the targets now. You got it? We are the enemies. You need proof? Go look in the cages in Washington where the J6 prisoners are still being held without a trial. Guilty until proven innocent. The Justice Department has been weaponized. The FBI has been weaponized. It is corrupt to the core. Trump fired the former director, James Comey, and replaced him with somebody apparently just as bad, Christopher Wray. I'm telling you, that thing needs to be ended once and for all. How did we get here? That is the question. How did we come to a point where we live under such a Soviet-style surveillance state, where the FBI acts toward law-abiding American citizens like they're the KGB, and all of us are suspect. All of us are looked at with a raised eyebrow as if, what are you up to, law-abiding citizen? I'll bet you're up to something, and brother, we're going to check in on you. How did we arrive at this place? How did we ever come to an America where we even have the existence of FISA courts? You know you can thank for this? I'll tell you who you can thank for this. The good old former President of the United States, George W. Bush. You can thank him for this. Specifically, you can thank the Patriot Act, ladies and gentlemen, because after the 9/11 event in New York, I almost said Biden, he's just as bad, Bush pushed through hurriedly the Patriot Act in Congress, and every member of Congress, for the most part, with one exception I'll mention in just a moment, was falling all over themselves, pushing aside old women and little children so that they could vote for the Patriot Act. Full disclosure, I'm going to be completely honest with you folks. At the time, I myself was a thoroughbred, a full-fledged neocon. I bought into it. I was a Bush supporter. I believed everything he was saying. We had been invaded apparently by Saddam Hussein, so by George, we had to go after him and get him. You know, I bought into the theory of Bush. Well, we've got to go invade country A, B, C, D, E, F, and G before they can invade us, right? That makes a lot of sense. It was all nonsense. It was a power grab. It was simply a way for them to enrich themselves and for defense contractors that were not needed to this degree to enrich themselves. The Patriot Act was a ruse. It was a charade. It was a fraud. It sounded great. It's got a great name, the Patriot Act. What do you mean you don't support the Patriot Act? Does that mean you're not a patriot? And so many Americans fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker. You know who stood up against it and said, no, 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 and there is no way we should do this because the devil is in the details. That would be the man who should have been president, former Congressman Ron Paul, said, you don't know what you're doing. This is a mistake. Because the Patriot Act opened up, it was a Pandora's box, and it opened the chutes. All the gloves were off. Since the Patriot Act was passed, now the government was unrestrained. The FBI was unrestrained now. The CIA had all restraints removed, and they turned our beloved nation into what it is now, a surveillance state. They wittingly transformed America. Obama used to say he wanted to fundamentally transform America, and he did. But I'm going to tell you something. George W. Bush really fundamentally transformed America by turning our beloved republic into a facsimile of the old Soviet Union with KGB/FBI agents running this surveillance state against law-abiding, good and decent American people. This is what Edward Snowden warned us about, and he was absolutely right. And because he did warn us about it, he had to flee the country. Assange warned us about it, and now he's in prison somewhere. Nobody knows nobody knows what's happening to him. In the same vein, Gonzalo Lira was talking about things like this, and now he's rotting away in a prison. And many others have done the same thing. The Patriot Act opened the door for the U.S. surveillance state, and now we see that we just have evidence of the FBI and these scandals conducting warrantless searches on innocent American people. If you want to search somebody in America, by the law, you have to have a warrant. Well, the FBI says, no, we're not going to mess with that. We're just going to spy on you, whether we get permission or not. Unbelievable and absolutely outrageous. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you all have a tremendous Friday. Please do me a favor. Subscribe to this channel if you have... First, give me a thumbs up on the video, if you will. Hit that thumbs up button down below. Let's get the algorithm kicking. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, as long as you are not an illegal alien, you are a legal alien of the country. You are a legal resident of the country in which you live. And as long as you do not wear these ridiculous face masks, you are more than welcome to subscribe to the Trailer Trash Tim channel. Come and join our growing community. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for the Trailer Trash Tim Playhouse. And hey, join me on Sunday at, what did I say, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Or no, I said 3 p.m. It is 3 p.m. on Sunday, Central Standard Time. Come and join me and hang out, and we'll have a lot of fun. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in today. This is Trailer Trash Tim, and I will see you at the Playhouse tomorrow.